Creven with WasteCap Nebraska, and we are going to go ahead and get started. This is our 7th installment of the 2015 webinar series, Building Better Communities. For a complete listing of remaining topics, visit our website, wastecapne.org, and look under the Events section on our homepage. Our corporate sponsor for the series is Lindsay Corporation, and is partially funded by a grant from the Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality and a Partners in Education grant from the Nebraska Academy of Sciences. WasteCap Nebraska is a statewide, member-based nonprofit that works with community and business leaders to build zero-waste communities. Our mission is to eliminate waste in Nebraska through innovation, education, and policy change. During today's webinar, participants will hear from the EPA on its free WasteWise program, including a demonstration of ReTRAC Connect, an online solid waste tracking and reporting tool, just one of the benefits to participation in the WasteWise program. You will also hear valuable information from one WasteWise partner, Kemper Sports from Sand Creek Station Golf Course, about their organization's waste reduction and tracking efforts. First, you will hear from Jennifer Dewani, who is an environmental scientist in the Resource Conservation and Pollution Prevention with U.S. EPA Region 7. Her work involves partnering with Region 7 states, municipalities, nonprofits, and businesses for pollution prevention and sustainable materials management. After that, you will hear from Laura Wetzel. Laura Wetzel is an environmental communications manager at Eastern Research Group, a contractor to EPA's WasteWise program. Laura has supported WasteWise since 2012, including answering partner questions and reviewing data as part of the WasteWise helpline. Laura also helps facilitate WasteWise transition to the new data management system hosted by ReTRAC Connect and presents training webinars on how to use them. Then we have a WasteWise partner, Chris Toohey, who is the regional manager of Kemper Sports Sand Creek Station. The golf course was built in 2006 and became a partner with WasteWise in 2009. Chris will share their story and experiences with the WasteWise program. Please type any questions in the chat box as they come to mind, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. A recording of this presentation will be available afterwards on our website at www.wastecapne.org in the archives. Now, as I turn this presentation over to Jennifer Dewani, there will be a slight delay before she begins. Thank you again for attending.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm going to assume you can.
Hear you.
Hi there. I'd like to thank WasteCap Nebraska for hosting the webinar and for inviting us to participate to talk about the WasteWise program. I put together a little snapshot of how the webinar is structured, and Heather already went into this, but I'm going to give you a little bit of WasteWise, just an overview of the program. Then Laura is going to go into more detail and actually go into the database. And then Chris is going to talk about his program at Sand Creek Station. We're really excited to have him on the line with us today. They're a great partner for us, and like Heather mentioned, they've been with us since 2009, and they also received a National Partner of the Year Award in 2012. Sorry, then we'll try to keep 10 to 15 minutes at the end for questions.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, so getting started about WasteWise. WasteWise is one of a number of voluntary programs that EPA supports. I've identified some of our other programs here which you may recognize, but WasteWise is the only one that deals with solid waste, or what we call sustainable materials management. It's a voluntary partnership, and it helps organizations and businesses apply sustainable materials management practices, and that helps them achieve cost savings, improve efficiency, and reduce their climate footprint. The program was started in 1994, and it's gone through quite a few changes since then, and it still continues to evolve, and it's become a mainstay in environmental stewardship for EPA. And currently we have more than 1,600 active partners, and 90 of those are in the Region 7 states of Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska. In Nebraska, WasteCap Nebraska has been a strong supporter of the WasteWise program over the years, and they help promote the program in a number of ways. One example is hosting this webinar. They've hosted workshops and helped to assist and recruit a number of partners in the state. This list here is the most current list of our active partners in Nebraska. And WasteCap is also listed here because they are a registered and active endorser of the program that also happen to be the only endorser in the state of Nebraska. So there's two ways to participate in the program. One's as a partner, or the other is as an endorser like WasteCap. The partners are the ones who are actually committing to developing and improving their waste prevention and recycling programs and incorporating sustainable materials management practices into their management programs. The endorsers, they commit to helping recruit organizations to become partners, and they provide members with promotional or technical information about the program. Both partners and endorsers set annual goals, but only partners are reporting on their actual activities. So I guess one thing I wanted to mention is that we did call this WasteWise for businesses, but you don't have to be a business to participate in WasteWise. Local governments or nonprofits are also eligible to join. And we have participants that range from very small local governments and nonprofits to large multinational corporations. So I just wanted to show you an overview of the type of data that the WasteWise program looks at and that you can track within the database. But Laura's going to go into more detail on this. But basically we take a three-pronged approach to sustainable materials management. And first and most preferable in terms of the environment and cost savings as well, we look at waste prevention activities or source reduction. And this would be like re-engineering a program or a product in order to cut waste. Then partners also look at activities to divert materials from the landfill, like donating used products or food and all of your recycling and composting activities. And then third, WasteWise also looks at the purchasing and or manufacturing of recycled content products. And then I kind of put a little note here at the bottom that within the WasteWise program, you also can track cost savings and revenue. So this would be like money that you make from selling used products or recycling or avoided landfill costs. And you're not required to do all of these types of activities in order to participate in the program or to remain active in the program, but the database will allow you to track all of them in addition to your waste generation. So then what you send to landfill or incineration. Laura's going to show you more about each of those. And I'd also like to note that EPA does keep all of this information confidential. So what's the benefit to you? Well, we're here to help if you have challenges. Over the years, we've developed a good number of outreach and educational materials, and there are regional and national program folks who can help. Myself here in the regional office in Lenexa, Kansas, and my colleagues also are here to support you. And then Laura and her team that staff the national helpline are always available to assist, and they have a dedicated line and email address for assistance with the program. Another great benefit is that the database gives your organization a organized approach for developing and implementing your program. And so as you'll see more when Laura goes into it, the database really is a good tool, and it's free to participants. Annually, there's also opportunities to receive awards. Like I mentioned, that Sand Creek had won. And every year that you continue to stay active in the program, you get authorization to use the current year's logo. So like the one at the top right of the screen, partners will receive a copy of that logo, and then they can use it to promote their achievements. And then also there are reports within the database that you can run to show the results of your activities and also the environmental benefits associated with them that you can use to promote your program as well. Basically, in order to get started, you need to have a profile in the ReTRAC Connect database. And so if you don't already have one, because a number of other programs do use the database, you'll have to first set one of those up. And that's simple to do. Then once you're there, you can join WasteWise and register as either a partner or an endorser, and there's an agreement that you sign. Check a box there. Then we suggest that you form a team, if you don't already have one, and identify what opportunities there are within your organization that you'd like to focus on. Because we do ask you to set a goal each year that you participate. And so partners will, within, I think it's 90 days of joining the program, Laura can confirm, the partners are asked to submit baseline data and some baseline goals. And then endorsers will just submit goals. So then as a partner, you would record and track data and annually set goals. Now there's no requirement necessarily that you meet your goals in order to stay active in the program. We just ask that you set one so that you can continually move further along on the path of sustainability. So I just wanted to share some success real quick before I turn things over to Laura. Over the past 2 years, just in Region 7, well, the past 2 years of data, so that'd be 2013 and 14. Our WasteWise partners in those 4 states have reported a total of more than 1.3 million tons of materials that were prevented from becoming waste in the first place, donated, composted, or recycled. And nationally, over the same 2 years, the activities of our partners resulted in a greenhouse gas equivalent savings of having removed 900,000 passenger cars from the road for a year. So we think that's pretty significant, and this is why EPA continues to support the program and its partners. And that's it for my portion. I'm going to turn things over to Laura, and there's my contact information, and I can also give it to you at the end if you need it.
Thanks a lot, Heather, for having us, and Jennifer for inviting me to review more about the WasteWise data management system. As Heather said, I am part of the WasteWise helpline staff, so I have a lot of experience in this data management system, so I'm happy to be here to tell you more about it. So the WasteWise data management system is hosted by ReTRAC Connect, which is an interface that hosts data tracking for a range of waste management programs, such as EPA's Food Recovery Challenge, Recyclemania, and also various state programs. As Jennifer mentioned, you can register for WasteWise at the URL shown here on the slide. And using this form, you can create a ReTRAC Connect user account and register for WasteWise all in one convenient step. The form includes fields for your organization information, like organization type and your address, as well as your contact information. So it's pretty simple. After you submit your registration and it's approved by the WasteWise helpline, you'll receive a confirmation email from support@retrac.com. And it may take a full business day to just process your registration and get that confirmation email. And once you get that approval email, you're ready to log into the WasteWise data management system and submit your first required form, which is that participation agreement. There are a few forms you submit once at the beginning of your WasteWise participation. So first is that participation agreement, and you submit that once within 1 week of approval of your registration. And in this form, you agree to be a partner, an endorser, or both. Next, you have your baseline data and baseline goals, and you submit those once within 90 days of your participation agreement. So that gives you some time to kind of go through and collect your previous year's waste management data and form that team that Jennifer was talking about to identify opportunities. So in the baseline data form, you enter your previous year's waste management data, which is your disposal, any waste prevention, donation, recycling, composting, as well as your goals for your first year of WasteWise participation. Next, after that, you have 2 forms that you submit every year between January 1st and March 31st. So the deadline is March 31st every year. And you use your annual data form to report waste disposal and diversion data from the previous year. And you use your annual goals form to set waste diversion goals for the upcoming calendar year. All right, well, now that you have an idea of what forms are required, let's see the WasteWise data management system in action. And you log in at the URL that's shown on the screen. So here's the login page for your email and password to log in. When you log in, you're directed to your dashboard screen. And to access your WasteWise forms, you click on the Go button beneath EPA WasteWise. Now you may notice that I have 2 Go buttons, one for each of my hotels that I've signed up to participate in WasteWise. One of the benefits of WasteWise is that it allows you to track as many organizations as you'd like, all under one single user account. Let's take a look at example Hotel A to see the reporting forms that way. So here's the list of WasteWise forms, and the forms are divided into those one-time forms we talked about at the top, and then the annual forms at the bottom here. You'll notice both partner endorser forms listed, but you'll only complete partner forms if you're a partner, and you'll only complete endorser forms if you're an endorser. To access a blank form and enter data, click on the blue plus sign icon that's next to the form name. As we discussed earlier about the reporting sequence, first is the participation agreement. And this is where you select whether you want to be a partner or endorser and agree to the program terms. As a reminder, partners report waste management data annually on their waste management activities at their organizations, while endorsers recruit partners and support their waste diversion efforts and also just promote waste diversion more widely among their community. So since we're a hotel and we want to track all of the great waste reduction activities we've been working on, we would want to register as partners. And so there's a list of terms that you agree to. Now, every form within the WasteWise data management system has these 2 yellow buttons to either save your form to return to it later before finalizing it, or the Submit to Program button, which locks your form and submits it to EPA to review. So you'll want to make sure to eventually submit your form in order for it to get processed and check off that requirement. After you submit your participation agreement, you have 90 days to submit that baseline data form. So let's take a look at that baseline data form now. There's instructions at the top of the page for you to review. And this baseline data form looks almost identical to the annual data form that you'll be completing every year. In our baseline data form, we enter waste management data from the calendar year before we joined. So, and that serves as a starting point for your WasteWise activities. So if I'm a new partner joining in 2015, I'll want to use 2014 as my baseline year, and then I would enter data from my 2014 activities in this form. WasteWise reporting is activity-based and then material-based within those activities. So the first section is for your disposal, your municipal solid waste disposed. So you can enter that disposal data selecting whether it's landfilled or incinerated, and you can also decide to report in tons or pounds. Next, you report on your material diversion activities. And that all depends upon what activities you undertook during that baseline year and for what materials. So you don't have to complete every section. It would just be based on the activities that you did do during your baseline year. Our diversion categories are waste prevention, donation, recycling, and composting. And there's a definition below each section header to kind of guide you as to what data should be entered under the proper category. The material list within each section is preloaded to help standardize and organize your WasteWise reporting. And each of these materials is actually connected to an emissions factor, which then feeds into a report within this system to help you communicate your accomplishments in terms of greenhouse gas emission reductions and other tonnages. So those numbers that Jennifer showed across Region 7 WasteWise partners, you can get those types of numbers for your own organization because these materials are connected to emission factors. So you would just enter in what you have for each activity if you have anything. And if you want to report, you can report as many activities as you want under each category by clicking this Add button, which will create a new line and allow you to track additional materials here. And just go through all that you have as appropriate. And whatever you enter in above, the diversion data will automatically be summarized in this materials diversion summary table. There are also optional sections for you to track any cost savings and revenue your organization may have achieved through your waste reduction efforts. And you can also track whether you buy products made out of recycled content or if you manufacture materials using recycled content. So that's what the baseline data form looks like. And after you complete that partner baseline data form, you want to make sure to enter a corresponding baseline goal. And we'll access that baseline goal form by clicking on that icon next to the form name. WasteWise goals are set in terms of increasing the total amount of waste you divert from the landfill through waste prevention, donation, recycling, and composting. So in our baseline data form, there shows a total that we prevented during baseline year. And we want to set a goal to increase that amount of tonnage that we're diverting from the landfill. You can set your goal in either tons or percentage, but as indicated here in the instructions, your baseline goal must be equivalent to at least a 5% increase in overall tonnage of waste diverted compared to your baseline year. So if you want to make it simple, you can just set a 5% goal, and then you're pledging to increase your total waste diverted by 5%. And as Jennifer said, there is no penalty for if you don't achieve your baseline goal or any of your WasteWise goals that you set. But we just ask that you do set them to continue progress and achievement. So you receive your WasteWise logo once you submit your baseline data and goals, and that will make you an official WasteWise partner. After that, by March 31st of every year, WasteWise partners submit annual data and annual goals, which you can see right here in this second section. Let's just take a quick look at that partner annual data form. When we get to this page, we click the yellow New button to create a new annual data form. As you'll notice, the annual data form looks exactly the same as the baseline data form we already reviewed, except you can choose a date range right here for your data. And this allows you to track your data on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, or an annual basis. For example, if I wanted to track monthly, I would set the date range for January 1st to January 31st and enter my January data here. Save that form, and then I would use that yellow New button we saw on the previous page to create a different form for February, and so on. Or, of course, you can keep it simple by reporting cumulative annual totals in a single form. So you can just enter all your data for the whole year, and that would satisfy your reporting requirements as well. We don't really need to review the rest of the annual data form because, as I said, it's just the same as that baseline form we've already looked at. And along with your annual data, you do have to set that annual goal. And here's that annual goal form, which does look the same as the baseline goals form. And you use this form to set a goal for the current year to increase the amount of waste you diverted from the landfill compared to the previous year. For annual goals, there isn't a 5% requirement like baseline goals. Instead, it's just a self-directed increase. And again, there's no penalty. So you could set a goal of 1 ton or 1% or 20 tons or 20%. And that's it as far as WasteWise reporting goes. So what is the point of all of this data? Well, the WasteWise data management system allows you to run reports on your diversion efforts and compare them over time. For example, you can compare diversion tonnage by material and activity type between 2 years and calculate the percent change. You can view total diversion tonnage by activity type, so waste prevention, donation, recycling, composting, across a specified time period. You can calculate greenhouse gas emission reductions and equivalencies and compare them from year to year. For example, the greenhouse gas emissions you avoided by diverting X tons of waste is equivalent to X number of passenger vehicles taken off the road for 1 year, or carbon sequestration by X acres of forest. Some of the reports output results into data tables, which can be exported into Excel. And sometimes the outputs are graphs, which can be saved as JPEGs or PNGs or PDFs to be incorporated into sustainability reports or cross-company updates on your progress from year to year to kind of build that morale and interest in waste diversion. Here's an example of a report output for annual greenhouse gas emission reduction equivalencies, and it's comparing it from year to year. So you can see how we've improved from 2012 to 2014, and you can see those equivalencies in terms of vehicles, electricity, and energy use. And here's an example report output that shows your greenhouse gas equivalencies by material type. So what you're doing, the efforts in each material, what kind of emissions reductions those are being translated into. And if you have any questions at any time about the WasteWise data management system, please feel free to contact the WasteWise helpline. We do have a phone number as well, but an email address is often really quick to get in touch with us, and that's wastewisehelp@epa.gov. So that's all I have to share for now for the data management system. So I guess I'd like to welcome Chris to speak about WasteWise in practice.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for letting me come on. I'll be, I guess, the last speaker for today, so I've just got a couple of minutes. I think it was nice that the EPA contacted us to use us as a case study on how we've used WasteWise and maybe give you guys some examples and things to think about the way you can get your program off the ground. I do want to kind of give just a quick background. We are a golf course just south of you, just in the Wichita market. You know, for those of you that are golfers, you may know that golf courses are sometimes viewed as being a venue that isn't very environmentally friendly with the amount of chemicals and fertilizers that we use. And I know that's not really going to cover what we're going to talk about today, but it's telling my story on how I became active in environmental stewardship. I work for a company named Kemper Sports. We actually manage a few properties in the state of Nebraska, one in Lincoln and one in Valentine. And our company felt compelled in 2009 to create our own environmental program that we call Green to a T. It's a 4-stage program that involves many areas, managing all of our accounts throughout the country in the most environmentally responsible manner. I actually am one of the co-chair of the Green to a T program, and in our level 2 paperwork we decided that with the EPA's great work of the WasteWise program, that in order for all of our properties to become level 2 certified, one of the requirements was them to sign up and become a partner in the WasteWise program. You know, I think really just to kind of cut to the chase, I think the way we use the WasteWise program, at least for Sand Creek Station, is it really helps us tell the story to our clients, who is a municipality. The City of Newton owns the golf course, and I include this in some of my quarterly client reports. You know, our city is very green, so I think they like to see that not only we as a company, but we as operators of their golf course do keep, you know, the environment top of mind. I will also share on the call that we've used the WasteWise program for our staff just simply to bring awareness that, you know, what you can do at your home to do your own recycling. And I think keeping a recycling program and being a part of WasteWise is a great tool to keep your employees engaged with, you know, this platform. In my opinion, you know, the first step, and I know we talked about it on the call, is to create a committee, but we more or less call it a champion. We have a lot of initiatives in our company, and as a recommendation to all our accounts, we ask that someone, you know, who is a staffer at your employer become a real champion of this program. I mean, let's, you know, we can be honest. I mean, we can sign up for the program and we can say we're going to stay committed, but I think unless you have someone who's going to work diligently at keeping the data updated, you know, and it doesn't even have to be someone who's in management. It could be someone who's just intrigued with wanting to do their part, and you know, they may be interested in learning more about, you know, the WasteWise program, and that could, you know, be someone who could be your champion that could keep the program active and again, keep it top of mind with your you know, with your entire organization. I think, you know, really, I mean, I'm pretty quick. I know I created a couple of slides. I don't know if you can go to those. I wanted to show an example. On our golf course, we have a GPS unit. Hearing an echo, sorry. And this is one of the GPS screenshots that we put on the golf course. I think it's pretty compelling, simple enough to say 5 recycled plastic bottles makes enough fiber fill to stuff a ski jacket. And then if you could go to the next one, the last slide, thank you, is, you know, the Americans throw away enough aluminum every 3 months to rebuild our entire commercial air fleet. So if you take those two examples alone, I think that's pretty compelling on, you know, just simple things that we can do, you know, and just covering recycling. I know WasteWise does a lot more, but I think, you know, I would at least think most people on the call, you know, that's something they could do immediately. One thing I just have before, you know, open it up if anybody has any questions for me, but you know, I've been trying to keep up with, not trying to get religious on everybody, but the Pope making a visit to the United States. And one of the topics he's talking about is the environment, and he's very concerned about that. So I think it's the elephant in the room that, you know, the climate is changing, and I think it's very important for all of us to just, you know, take a call to action and do what we can, you know, to keep our planet as healthy as we can. So I'm a firm believer in, you know, in the WasteWise program. I was, you know, we certainly were honored when we received an award from the EPA in 2012 just for what our work that we did. We just simply thought, you know, it was something that we should have been doing in the first place. So again, not to be sensitive to everyone's time, you know, more or less than going into more of the meat of what we do. I certainly would be more than happy to answer any questions. If anybody wants to contact me after the phone call, you know, my contact information, I believe, is included. So feel free to pick up the phone if you guys need help, you know, getting your WasteWise program started. So I thank you for letting me kind of share our story here about what we do at my golf course.
Unmuted.
Thanks, Chris. And before we get to the questions, I just want to thank all of our presenters today for the valuable information that they've shared with us. I also want to say that WasteCap Nebraska is an endorser of the WasteWise program. And when we work with businesses and communities on a waste assessment, we require our clients to become partners in the WasteWise program. We find it extremely helpful in our process of analyzing bills and waste and helping set goals, entering baselines, and continued reporting. I do have a few questions. Our first one is ReTRAC only for businesses and organizations, or can households use it too?
So this is Laura. WasteWise as a program is only meant for businesses and organizations. So a household, like if you as a household are interested in reducing your waste, you can't be a WasteWise partner, although we have had households try to join. As far as the larger ReTRAC Connect system, there is a tracker, a free tracker tool that you could probably use if you are a household, but it is geared in general for businesses and organizations.
Thanks, Laura. We have another question. It says, does the ReTRAC database allow for an organization to enter data for different facilities and then group different facilities together? For example, a municipality will have multiple facilities from libraries to fire stations to city hall. Could you enter information for each fire station and then group the stations into a fire department total and then have a department total and then a fire department figures added together with all the city departments to come up with a total city government total? Or would you just have to total all the city government data together and enter that?
So this is Jennifer.
Yeah,
Jennifer,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know the program is flexible, so I would question, you know, what the advantages would be of setting it up either way. If it's helpful to, for example, set it up with individual facilities who maybe you could assign different people to enter data for those locations, then I think it would probably make sense to do it that way. Or if you wanted to be able to run reports that would compare those locations, then it would make sense to do it that way. But if you're not going to do that, one person sitting there and entering data for a number of different locations, I'm not sure whether that would be worth it. That would be a call that the partner would need to make. But yes, it does have that capability. You can have multiple users, and you can have different levels of access to the data. So you could run a report. Even if you had it set up as separate locations, you could run a report that would roll it all up together, depending on how you set it up, though, right, Laura?
Yep, that's true. So you could register multiple partner organizations under one user account if there was a city official who wanted to enter everything, or as Jennifer mentioned, if there's someone from each facility that wants to be responsible for taking ownership of the partnership, they could create a user account for each of the people managing data, and then we could create a grouping so that someone on the city level could see everything and total everything up as well. So there's some flexible options in terms of tracking separate facilities if you want to be able to pull out that data individually and compare progress for separate locations.
And this is Jennifer. Another thing that I wanted to add is that in terms of the time frame for entering data, you really have some flexibility there as well, as long as you're covering a calendar year to EPA. But we have some organizations that operate on a fiscal year, and if you want to be able to run a report that will show you your results for a fiscal year, then you're probably going to need to do your entry at least quarterly. And you could do it daily or monthly if you wanted to, but like I said, you kind of need to make the determination whether that is something that you're going to get use out of or whether you're just making more work for yourself. But you really could use it as a tool to store data and just go in there and enter it whenever you receive an invoice, for example. So it's quite flexible.
Great. I have another question. Can colleges and universities use the ReTRAC? If so, do you know any colleges or universities that are currently using it?
Yeah, so there are a lot. I actually saw this question and looked up how many universities are using ReTRAC Connected for WasteWise in Region 7, and there are 8 college or university partners, including Johnson County Community College, Northwest Missouri State University, University of Kansas, and across all regions there are a large number, 61 college or university WasteWise partners across all nationally.
And then the next question is, can B Corporation businesses use ReTRAC as part of their certification process?
Laura, I haven't heard of anyone doing that. Have you?
I don't know. I know that there are some other ReTRAC Connect hosts data tracking for a number of different programs, which does include some state reporting programs. So I'm not sure exactly. You can produce results that you might be able to use in terms of a certification process, but I don't know about anyone using it formally.
And then the next question is for Chris. What have been some of the challenges that you have faced in the Green to a T program?
Oh, it's a good question. I would say in regards, the biggest challenge, I think, is going back to sustainability at the property level for properties to stay engaged in the program. So, what I mean by that is, we have the program available for everyone, and I don't think that properties are utilizing it as much as they should. Now, some do. That's why I really stress to the point of assigning, a staffer or a champion to the program, for your WasteWise program, just to make sure that it is going to be continually updated and supported. So hopefully that answers the question.
And then I have a question from someone who works for a nonprofit. they say we routinely receive donated supplies made partially of recycled material. Can we list this on the WasteWise as purchasing recycled goods?
This is Laura. Yeah, definitely. It doesn't have to be purchased necessarily, even though that's kind of the title of it. If you're using items as far as your supplies that are made out of recycled content, I think you could say it's not going to be quite the same like equivalencies as if you're actually purchasing materials from recycled goods, because it's actually better. You're not going through the process of recycling and putting the energy into recycling. Instead, you're just reusing that material. So that's good. And you'd want to make sure that you wouldn't track that under donation, because instead, for example, the organization that donated it to you could track it under donation because they're donating something to you, if that makes sense.
And then the next question that I have is, can you provide a few examples of entries that would qualify as waste prevention?
Well, the biggest one that comes to mind is going paperless. I've seen a lot of partners report paper reductions. You have other examples, Laura, that come to mind?
Sure. It could be if you are a shipping company and you used to just use cardboard boxes and instead you switch to kind of reusable containers, or anything that's switching from something that you would be throwing one-time use only, switching to a reusable version of that. If you can quantify, like, how much less cardboard are we now purchasing and disposing now that we've switched to reusable containers, you could quantify that cardboard as waste prevention, because you're no longer creating that waste to begin with. So waste prevention can also be considered source reduction. You're reducing waste at the source by producing less of it in general.
I noticed when I went to the grocery store the other day that my receipt was printed on both sides, so it used half as much paper, which I thought was pretty cool. I'd never seen that before, but that would be an example too.
Great. I again want to thank all of our participants and then all of our presenters. I'm not showing that we have any more questions.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for your time today. And hopefully we'll see some of you as WasteWise partners soon.
Yeah,
time will end.
Can you share our contact information whenever you send? I'm assuming you're going to send this out.
Yes, I will send a recording of the webinar to all of the people who registered, and I can include that contact information as well.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.